So you hear the stories. John F. Kennedy wants to denuclearize, us and Russia.
He wants to avoid a full-fledged arms exchange. Yeah.
Full-fledged arms exchange, right? Who doesn't want that? Is that the military-industrial complex? Is that also what it was that Eisenhower kept referring to?
Are you saying back then or now?
Back then.
Okay, so back then, I would have to say it was the military-industrial complex. Also, factions of the intelligence community that genuinely believed that Kennedy was likely a communist sympathizer because he was openly engaging in these dialogues. What's interesting is when you're looking about, I think, like the main differences now, and the reason I keep contrasting is because there's striking similarities now to back then, but it's almost like history is correcting itself for the wrongdoings of the past. You actually have this aspect of social media that's been able to almost inoculate against the massive smear campaigns from the military-industrial complex, where versus back then, when people did stand up against us, the first thing that they had to fear was the printing press. Well, we all know now that, even the Washington Post back then was a mouthpiece for the CIA, probably still is. But because they didn't have social media, you really were at the almost, mercy of these intelligence agencies if you did not go along with what they wanted.
Back then.
Back then.
Okay, so who doesn't want this to be out?
I think a lot of people were hesitant of it. And rightfully, I think, questioning about the timing, but a lot of people are like, well, how did you manage, we've been trying to get this for years. Like, how all of a sudden did you go in and grab these? Well, it's called, I picked up the phone and I asked for them and I met in person. And I think there's a lot, I can now understand how world wars start because I've worked with some of these old walruses in Washington, and sometimes they don't want to talk to each other, or it's a pride thing. And I am a lot younger than the Cold War is. And so I was able to pick up the phone and talk to the ambassador, and he met with me. And it was actually the president of Russia that decided to declassify this in an attempt also to provide transparency with what President Trump did with his executive order.
Let's play devil's advocate. So if we play devil's advocate on how they would manipulate this, and maybe they make it up and they mix it up in their own way and not release 100% of the information to you. Let's just say they're trying to do something like that. Who would they want to make the enemy to create a division in America? Because I don't know if I wake up in the morning, especially right now with everything's going on. I mean, just last night, you got the drone attacks 18 hours ago, 19 hours ago. I don't know if you saw the clips or not.
In Kyiv.
In Kyiv, right. So, Russia, Ukraine, the videos just released. Rob, I texted you one of the clips if you want to pull it up. CNN just posted. It's all over the place. And then you hear President Trump putting the sanctions, increasing sanctions, then giving long-range missiles, not the Tomahawks, but the long-range, not giving, but allowing Ukraine to use it. This is just yesterday, Rob.
I think he actually put out a Truth Social tweet, and I actually put it on my social. So he, to my understanding, said that was fake news, the Washington Post, about the long-range missile stuff. So I would just confirm.
He said that said that it's not. Okay, can you pull that up, Rob? That's good, because 2 days ago they said that he did. So
but it was around the same time, because he, in the same press conference, had talked about why Budapest was off, and he also said, I don't think that we're at where we need to be at in regards to either a ceasefire or a peace deal. But then he also too at the same time had stated that they're going to increase sanctions.
Wall Street Journal story on USA approval of Ukraine being allowed to use the long-range missiles deep into Russia's fake news. The U.S. has nothing to do with these missiles, wherever they may come from, or what Ukraine does with them. So then where would they get it from?
Probably from NATO. So NATO is funding the Ukrainian government right now in regards to the munitions that they're getting. And this gets really complicated. So I actually went to the EU and I met with the European Union, which, by the way, interesting story there. I was on a delegation, and there's a lot of countries that they have really crappy economies and they're pushing for this war. Ironically enough, you know why they're doing that.
Of course.
But then there's also representatives that are more conservative leaning in the EU that want nothing to do with, war with Ukraine. And it's interesting because I even went to Romania. I met with the president there. I met with their parliament. I went to Moldova. I met with their president, their parliament. No one wants war that's having to deal with this on their doorstep. It's only the countries that are like hundreds or thousands of miles away that are like, heck yeah, let's continue this. Zelensky, I think, is, he's not doing right by his own people. He hasn't held elections since the war started. We had elections during our civil war. You're telling me that you can't hold elections? I think that he doesn't want to take a loss, and so he's looking at peace as a loss. But I think that that's terrible leadership, because you should look at peace as a win, especially when you've had that many people that have died.
Yeah, I mean, I don't trust him at all. But President Trump seems to be in the middle right now, trying to figure this thing out, the peace deal, and this one seems to be complicated. I think after, Rob, can you pull up the call that they had after the 2-hour call? I think the President Trump had. President Trump got upset yesterday. Something happened with the sanctions. Can you pull up the sanction story that I think literally just happened? So it seems like he's in the middle, and neither one of the sides. So
yeah, he's not wanting this to escalate, because I think he shares the same sentiment that many of the American people do, and that we need to index war, and that this can't continue. And also, too, I think that there's this aspect of, he realized, President Trump, yes, he's a president, but also remember, he's a dad. He has a lot of kids, he has a lot of grandkids, and he's seeing how many people are dying. And I think that when you're in a position of power, especially at his level, you have to weigh the decisions that you're making. And he understands that ultimately, when you die, you have to answer for those decisions. And so he wants to be, I think rightfully so, known as the peace president. I think that that's why he's been able to accomplish 8 of those peace deals. And I think that they'll be number 9 soon.
Oh, I believe as well. But I think in this point, he's in the middle, and Putin's probably like, wait a minute, why are you allowing them? Are you giving them long-range missiles? No, I didn't. NATO, are you doing this? And then Zelensky's like, well, I thought they're not going to do this. Why are they attacking us? And I'm assuming there's calls taking place. Well, I thought you're not going to do this. What are you doing? If you do this, I'm going to give you sanctions. I had to do it. You don't understand. Why are you taking their side? I'm assuming he's in the middle of this, trying to get the two to get along.
That, and also, too, he does have a commanding presence in NATO. But NATO, again, has been pushing for this. And they have this same Cold War era perspective, when in actuality they shouldn't. Kudos to the president of Hungary. He's been the one saying, like, hey, the EU, NATO needs to chill out. And that's why he agreed to host the peace summit, which is, I think, they'll wait till they for sure have a deal to then go meet. And so a lot of people are like, oh, he's backing out because, he's going to back you. That's not what he's doing. President Trump is probably the best negotiator. And it's funny seeing a lot of people speculate. But you can actually hear everything that he's saying. He does not want to escalate it. He wants Putin to stop striking Kyiv and wants to index the war in Ukraine, but he also understands that, Zelensky's asking for Tomahawk missiles. I'll tell you, I actually did meet, because I usually like to listen to both sides of the argument. So I actually went to Poland and I met with the Ukrainian parliament when I first got elected. And I was absolutely disgusted by how some of the members expected Americans to be funding that war, but then also to what I was told what they were going to do with the weapons that we were giving them after the war. And it was funny, because I was one of the very vocal supporters against the Ukraine war and funding for early on, before it was considered politically cool. And I had reporters that would reach out to me all the time trying to trash me on my position, saying that I was, going to be responsible for, Russia rolling into Poland and taking over Europe. And I would tell them this story. So I was actually told, and it wasn't just me, it was other members of our delegation that were with us, and it was a bipartisan delegation, that they're going to take the munitions that we were giving them, and they're essentially going to start a private mercenary army similar to the Wagner Group. I don't think that's what we should be funding. Sorry, I just don't. And so I would tell these reporters, and they wouldn't print it. And so they eventually stopped asking me about it. And then as this war is continuing, you're seeing actually war fatigue happen. And a majority of Americans are like, okay, like this needs to index. But you still hear people, even people in Washington, that have this mentality and perspective that we need to continue that war. And I kept noticing not one member of Congress was reaching out to help support the president's positions for peace talks to the Russian government. They're all going to take selfies with Zelensky. They're all going to Ukraine. Not one member, until I picked up the phone, coincidentally enough, talking about this. And then I was like, you know what? There has to be a counterweight to all of this argument, like to actually open up and show that there is actually a demographic of Americans that want peace and don't necessarily buy into this whole mindset. I'm also not on House Armed Services. I'm also not funded by the defense industry. So there's that too.
Yeah. So this is the clip, by the way. If you want to play that, this is the drone that happened 17 hours ago. Go ahead, Rob. Okay, that's in Kiev. So Russia launches large-scale airstrike. Yeah. But by the way, Ukraine is the true drone expert. They've launched, I think, 500,000. The way they build them as quickly as they do, I think some 60% of drones are produced in Ukraine at the pace that they're going. And then just 15 minutes ago, if you want to go to the one 15 minutes ago, Rob, of what happened with China pausing State oil major suspends Russian oil buys due to sanctions. Sources say this is 50 minutes ago with the sanctions that the president put on. So let me ask you, when you ask for this, how much longer after you asked for it did you get it from the president?
So I asked for it when I first got the task force after our first hearing. So that must have been at least over 6 months ago. But even then, I actually had talked about it on Chris Cuomo. And I'm glad that I did, because a lot of people were like, oh, this is, Russian propaganda. And I was like, what, for peace? Like, I don't know about that. And they told me that I would be receiving it around fall, Christmas timeframe. And they delivered. That's when I got it.
So 6 months.
About a little bit more
ish to get it. Okay. So have you already seen anything in it that would be disruptive if released?
No. And actually, I already posted it publicly, so people can go through. We're all adults. You can decide.
All of it is public already.
Yeah, and it's interesting. People are like, well, what if this is Russian propaganda? I said, well, first of all, either which way, people are exposed to foreign propaganda all the time online. Like, if you don't think that there's something called
make up your mind and make up
your mind.
Yeah.
Use. I know critical thinking is lacking these days, but use critical thinking. But also to the experts that have gone through it, who are subject matter experts on the Kennedy. If it's false, there will be holes. But there could be nothing more damaging than what our own government has released in declassifying the files, saying that our CIA lied to Congress, covered up evidence. That the Warren Commission was threatening witnesses, that there were multiple shooters. I mean, how much more damaging can that be? Mm-hmm. I think people that make that argument are afraid of maybe, and it's cognitive dissonance, I think, sometimes, but you should look at both sides and decide for yourself. I'm not telling you what you think, but what I am telling you is I would much rather have a world where we're not killing each other and all economically benefiting than the latter.
After 2 years of working on this, we have finally pulled it off. And let me tell you what it is. Every time we do the Vol conference, if you've attended, you know this. I stand up and I speak for probably 45 hours is what I do at the Vol conference. And I love it. I love being around the guys. I love it. But I wear the Ferragamo shoes when I do this. Or I wear some kind of dress shoes. Eventually, for the last 25 years, I've always been on stage walking around. I'm like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of it. I want a shoe that I'm comfortable wearing. And here's what I love. I don't like shoes that are so heavy. That's a dumbbell. You can use it as a weapon. I don't want that. Like the Xenia, you carry it. I have so many of them, but they're so heavy. Like you can literally curl the Xenia, the shoes, and you'll get a pump within 30 reps. And I wanted the combination of the Hoka, the On Cloud, the Super Foam, because there's a big thing going on right now with the Super Foam where the bottom of the shoe, you wear it. You know which ones I'm talking about, the On Cloud or the Hokas, right? They're so comfortable. And I said, what if we take luxury and then combine it with the super comfort? What would that look like? And let's build it in Italy. So what do? We went to Italy. We designed the shoe in Florida. We made the shoe in Italy in five of the factories. We went back and forth, God knows how many times. And by the way, the shoes we're about to launch and introduce to you right now, where you're going to see the video for the first time, I've been wearing those shoes for the last 22 days straight. I'm wearing them right now. I literally wear it with suits. I wore it yesterday when we went to lunch. I wear it every single day. It's the most comfortable shoes I have, yet it's authentic Italian leather wrap. If you don't mind playing the video, go for it. Here's the video of the latest shoe, the FLBs. When we set out to create a shoe that blends comfort, function, and luxury, we had the choice to make it fast. We had the choice to make it cheap. We chose neither. Instead, we chose Tuscany, Italy. We chose true Italian craftsmanship, each pair touched by 50 skilled hands. We chose patience, spending 2 years perfecting every detail, and we chose the finest quality at every step. Introducing the Future Looks Bright collection. Not rushed, not disposable, not ordinary. Rather, intentional, luxurious, timeless. Boom. There you go. Designed in Florida, 100% made in Italy. 50 hands touch each shoe that was made. And here's what's unique about it. I want to kind of show this to everybody that knows this. And I've worn pretty much every one of these shoes. So if you compare this, the Italian leather, of course, it's made in Italy. It's not assembled, made in China, assembled in Italy, 100% made in Italy, assembled in Italy. It's FLBs, Berluttis, which are $1,840, Ferragamos are $895, Xenias are $1,190, and Gucci's are $950. Leather premium lining, all of them except for Gucci. Laceless feature, it's the FLBs, the Berluttis, you have laces, Ferragamos laceless, And then you have also the Xenias, and then the Guccis have the laces. I don't want to wake up in the morning, put laces on. I want to get out the house. Took me 3 seconds to put my shoes on today. Craftsman, 5 different Italian factories all made this shoe. Berlutti's are the same as us, as well as FLB. But the only shoe, these trainers, the only one in the world today, according to the factories that told me this in Italy, that has the super foam, the only one that has the same super foam used in the On Clouds and the Hokas, it's the FLBs, and they're officially out, and you can place the order. Here's a challenge. We only have 1,000 of these pairs. And when you say 1,000 of these pairs, they start from size, I believe, is it 8? It goes 8, 9, 10, 10.5, 11, 11.5, 12, 13. Those are the sizes that we have. And the shoes that you can get today, the colors, you have access to, Rob, if you can go back there, you can have access to those browns, which is absolutely beautiful. And by the way, the brown on the bottom, the stitching on the side is a left stitching. If you can change the picture, and on the bottom it says the future looks bright. Look at the white lines on the side. It's beautiful. The only ones we have right now that you can get sent out today are the black and the browns. If you do want the white to pre-order, I would highly recommend you do so. They're going to come out the second week of December. So the white and the navy blue comes out the second week of December. The browns and the blacks are available. If you believe the future looks bright as much as we do, go place the order. There's nothing like sitting in the boardroom with your trainers and you put your feet over your knee and people look at the bottom of your shoe and it says future looks bright. That's how you get deals done. All right, so they're out. I'm excited to announce it, and I'm very happy for people to go sport it. When you get them, take pictures, send it our way. We're going to show all these shoes, all the pictures that are being taken. I already got a bunch of them sent to me on Instagram. Go to vtmerch.com, place your order. It's all over the website. Maybe buy it for your husband, buy it for your brother, buy it for your coworkers, buy it for your best salespeople if you want to let them know the future looks bright. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.